Welcome back to the kitchen at Andersen Acres. Today we are going to be making a European almond loaf. Now, this bread is a batter bread, so we're not going to be using the bread maker, and we actually have a few steps that we haven't done before in a bread. So the first thing we need to do is we need to preheat on medium heat a small skillet. Okay? To that you're going to add about 2 tablespoons maybe of butter. Okay, has to be butter. Don't use margarine. It's very important that it's butter because this is a European almond, so we want the almond and the butter flavor to come together. So heat it over medium heat because you absolutely do not want to end up burning your butter. Butter burns easily. So just kind of melt that butter. This is an easy loaf to make. You want that butter sizzling. And yes, you do want about 2 tablespoons of butter. You want enough butter. You don't want to end up with not enough butter. Now into this, you're going to add some almonds. You want sliced or slivered. So I'm using sliced almonds. Buy them pre-sliced. Slicing them yourself is really, really annoying. So I'm using sliced almonds. You can use anywhere from 1/8 of a cup all the way up to 1 cup. Depends on how much you like almonds. Now I'm using about half a cup, but anywhere from 1/8 up to a full cup. So I'm using half a cup, but you can use more than that if you like. Don't exceed 1 cup because then your loaf actually ends up really tough. So this is now sizzling. So we're going to add our almonds to it. It's okay if some of your almonds are broken. They're going in a bread. Now this is a batter bread, so we won't be using the bread maker. So we're just going to let those brown a little bit. Move them around a bit. And remember, don't go over your medium heat simply because we don't want to burn the butter. Butter burns really easily and we do not want to burn the butter. So probably what I'm going to do, and actually I am going to do it, is I'm going to let you watch these brown, but I'm going to speed the video up so you don't have to sit here. It'll probably take about 5 minutes, and we're not going to sit here for 5 minutes staring at almonds. So you do want to move them around, and if you see almonds clumping up like that, break them apart because you want all the almonds to get in the butter. Give it a shake. It is good if you use a non-stick pan so that your almonds don't end up caked to the bottom. There we go. Give it a good shake. Hey, look at that. That's turning out nice. So we're just going to speed up the video so that you don't have to watch the entire process. And there we have it. Those are browned. You're going to want to take them off the heat as soon as they're that browned because you want your butter browned. You don't want them burning. So that's about right. See, that brings out the flavor, but do not burn them. So as soon as they start turning that color, get them off the heat. Don't leave them on the pan while your heat cools. You don't want to do that. So that's what they look like now. We're going to set these aside because we won't need them for a few minutes. So you're going to set them aside so that they can cool. Okay, you can leave them in the pan. It's not that big a deal. We're just going to stick them over here and let them cool down. Now we will move on to the next part. So while our almonds are cooling, we're going to come over here and mix our dry ingredients. Only our dry ingredients. We're not adding our wet ingredients yet. This is 3 1/4 cups of just regular flour. To that, we're going to add half a cup of sugar. Okay, we do want that much sugar. Yep, trust me. I know it sounds like a lot for a bread, but trust me. Then we're going to add half a cup of potato flakes. Could you add mashed potato? Yeah, but this is easier. If you do mashed potato, you have to account for that in your recipe and in your liquids because mashed potato has some liquid in it. But you could. You could use mashed potato instead of potato flakes. For simplicity, I'm using potato flakes. Then you're going to add 1 teaspoon of anise seed. Anise seed is excellent in this loaf, but only a teaspoon. It has a very deep, rich flavor, so if you add more than a teaspoon, it's going to be overwhelming. So don't increase the anise seed in this recipe. Now you're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. Yeah, I like a teaspoon of salt. There we go. And we are going to have on standby a heaping teaspoon of yeast. Don't add this yet. We're going to add this after we add the wet ingredients. We don't want this sitting in salt. So just have that ready to go on the side. Now we're going to go over and prep our wet ingredients. All right, so now we're going to prep our wet ingredients. First, you want to preheat a little saucepan on your stove to medium heat. Add half a cup of water to that. Add to that half a cup of water a full cup of sour cream. I'm just scooping it here. Yeah, we want a full cup of sour cream. Nice big cup. This is going to give us an excellent flavor in our bread. Use your whisk to get as much of that off as you can. Now what we're going to do here is we want to heat this for 5 minutes, okay, till it's nice and smooth. You want to use your whisk to help break down that sour cream, but you're going to do this for 5 minutes, stirring not constantly, but pretty close. So you don't have to stir every single second, but yeah, you need to pay attention. So I'm going to speed up the video again because I'm going to do this for 5 minutes because you want it heated thoroughly. Okay, medium heat though. Don't go above medium heat and don't burn the sour cream. All right, that's been 5 minutes. Now we're going to pull it off the heat. You see it is nice and foamy, quite foamy, but now we need to let it cool because we need to add eggs. And if we add eggs to this, we're going to have a bit of a problem. They'll immediately cook. This is too warm. So we need to let this cool. We're going to let it cool for 5 minutes. Okay, so just set that aside, let it cool for 5 minutes. I'm not going to make you watch that. That would be boring because nothing's going to happen. All right, so we have waited a full 5 minutes. It has cooled slightly, so it's not as boiling hot as it was when it was on the element. So what we're going to do is I've cracked 2 eggs into my bowl because I usually pre-crack my eggs because I'm really bad at cracking eggs. So I'm going to add these and then quickly whisk them in. 2 eggs, whisk them in. Make sure you smash up those yolks because sometimes they escape and they just kind of roll around the pan like that one is. You want to smash up those yolks, get them whisked in. There we go. Okay, now we've got the yolk escaping still. Yeah, make sure you get them. There we go. There we are. So now what we're going to do is go over to our dry ingredients and start combining everything. Hey, look at that. So now let's go get ready to combine our ingredients. All right, so the first thing we want to add, the absolute first thing, is going to be our sour cream mixture. Get that in there. Get that right in there. Okay? Then I'm just going to grab the wooden spoon I used to mix the almonds to mix that in. Just want to get that nice and mixed. Remember, this is a batter bread, so it's not going to be super smooth. So we're going to get that mixed in. It's nice and warm. And the reason we didn't add the yeast, 1, we didn't want it sitting in the salt. But 2, we did not want it coming in contact with hot liquid because that could kill it. But the flour helps cool it down a little bit. So now we're going to throw in our heaping teaspoon of yeast and get that mixed in. Okay, that'll help there. Now we're going to add another half cup of water. Okay, another half cup of water to our ingredients because this is a batter bread. There we go. Now, we don't want to forget our almonds. We did do our almonds. Now what we want to do is take our almonds and our butter in our pan that we have had sitting and just dump that all in there. Dump it all in. Yeah, there we go. Dump it all in and mix that together. That smells good. You can't smell it because you're watching a video. But I can smell the browned almonds, the browned butter, and the sour cream. So this is a nice fragrant dough. So give that a good mix. There we go. Now we are going to let that sit for about an hour so that yeast can activate and it can start rising. Okay, so it looks fantastic as it is. So I'm going to stick it in my microwave. You can cover it up and just leave it on your counter if your house is warm and humid enough. I use the microwave. So we'll come back in about an hour and see how it looks. All right, so our dough here has risen up and now we're just going to punch the air out of it. Just by twisting it around a little bit, but it did rise up rather nicely. After you've punched the air out, take a bread pan. Yes, I'm using a glass pan today. It's because my silicone pan is in the dishwasher. You can either put butter and flour it, or you can give it a shake, your can a shake. Spray your pan. It's a glass pan today, so we're going to give it a fairly generous spray. Just make sure we have enough because we do not want to be in a position where it sticks. Batter breads do stick if you're not paying enough attention to them, and if you don't use enough cooking spray or flour and butter, whichever way you like. So just clean off your wooden spoon, and now we're going to dump it into the bread pan. There's not really a lot of ceremony to this, you just plop it in there. And then we will set this aside to rise again. It'll probably take hour and a half maybe. The almonds do slow down the rising a little bit, and we just have to know that. So there we go, just kind of press it into place, just like that. And now we're just going to set it aside to rise for 60 to 90 minutes. We'll come back and check on it. So our European almond bread has risen up quite nicely. We're going to stick it in the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 40 minutes, 40 to 50. Check it at 40. You might have to leave it as long as 50. So we'll come back in 40 to 50 minutes and see how it looks. Well, there is our European almond bread. It's absolutely delicious. You want to let it cool 10 minutes in the pan before you take it out. Batter breads do better if you let them sit just a little bit before you slice them. This makes an excellent toast, and it is a really good sandwich bread as long as you like almonds. Remember, you can increase the amount of almonds up to 1 cup. You can also reduce the amount of almonds down to 1/8 of a cup. So you just decide how much almonds you want and you make your bread using that amount of almonds. So thanks for joining us today. I hope that you attempt European almond bread at home. It's a fun bread and an excellent bread to have around, and people will enjoy it. Hopefully we will see you tomorrow.